Comedy Hype News, I'm K-Rob. Very few people are born famous, which means that even celebrities were once regular people with regular jobs. No matter what you had vision for yourself, you still had to pay the bills. We all can identify with working all day, 9 to 5 at a job that we don't have any passion for. The comedians on this list had to work hard and hustle to get those jokes off before they really blew up. Working hard is something that we all can relate to. So here's a couple of our favorite comedians and their normal jobs they held before fame. Wanda Sykes. After attending Hampton University and earning a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing, Wanda Sykes' first job was as a contracting specialist at the National Security Agency, where she worked for 5 years. Basically, I shopped all day. Just brought things, anything from like office furniture to Intel equipment. I just really felt like I was wasting my time, government money, and taxpayer money working that job. I was doing well and getting promoted, but it was not fulfilling. I knew I should be doing something else. I was just listening to the radio and then they were promoting a comedy talent show. I said, I'm going to do that. Craig Robinson. Before making a name for himself in stand-up and film, Craig Robinson earned his undergraduate degree from Illinois State University and his Master's of Education from St. Xavier University. He used that to become a music teacher at Horace Mann's Elementary School in Chicago and Benjamin Franklin Elementary School in Hammond, Indiana. It was while Craig was studying education in Chicago that he also discovered his love of acting and comedy when he joined the famed Second City Theater. And in 2016, Craig said he still hears from his Chicago area students that he taught back in the 90s. They still reach out and they're very nice. They're like, Mr. Robinson, you still inspire us. And it's so good to see you doing your thing. I always say the same thing. I'm like, hey, I'm not your teacher anymore. Please stop contacting me. Nah, it's great. It's so great. Robinson led a double life at night. The Chicago native was hustling to make a name for himself in the city's comedy club circuit. In the morning, he'd be teaching music to elementary school students. That would later become an inspiration for his autobiographical sitcom, Mr. Robinson for NBC. D.L. Higley. Original king of comedy D.L. Higley worked in the circulation department of the Los Angeles Times as a telemarketer before taking on stand-up comedy full-time. The Los Angeles Times is where he met his wife, LaDonna. Higley's telemarketing job with the newspaper eventually evolved into a position as a circulation manager. I worked there 10 years, had all my kids there, brought my house there, used all of their medical insurance until I left to do comedy. Most people had odd jobs trying to make it. I had a real job. It was the first time I felt like I was good at something. Cedric the Entertainer. Another original king of comedy on our list is Cedric the Entertainer. Cedric at one point worked as a State Farm insurance claim adjuster and a substitute teacher before becoming the entertainer we know and love. While attending Southeast Missouri State University, Cedric pursued his interest in performing with a television major and a theater minor. And after graduating, he took a job as an insurance claim representative with a State Farm insurance company in Normal, Illinois for 3 years. Growing up in the Midwest, you're happy to get a job. It was a fairly good life. I had a company car and a little expense account. There was only one problem. I wasn't a very good claims adjuster because I would spend too much time having a good time. I was the funny guy in the office and kind of this beloved character. Cedric's manager and producing partner, Eric Rohn, said, whenever I would go by his office, there would be a pile of claims a foot high and people gathered around his desk. He was the life of the party, the life of the office, but in 6 years, I never once saw him process a claim. Everybody would be having a good time. Whoopi Goldberg. Well before Whoopi Goldberg won an Academy Award for her portrayal of a psychic in the film Ghost, she had a spooky real-life job working in a funeral home. I did hair and makeup on dead people. There was an ad in the paper, and I'm a licensed beautician as well, because I went to beauty school. It's a rough gig. You have to be a certain kind of person, and you have to love people in order to make them worthy of a great send-off. Goldberg's boss even played a prank on her to make sure she was right for the job. He asked Goldberg to go downstairs to talk to him, but once she got there, he was nowhere to be seen. So she waited, and when she was waiting, she began to hear a creaking sound coming from one of the drawers. And that's when the panic set in. So as soon as Goldberg registered what was happening, she started to make a run out of the room. But she wasn't fast enough, and as the drawers finished opening, she just saw a body sitting up. It was her boss, but Goldberg had already been tricked, and while making her way out, she ran into the door and knocked herself out. When she came back to her senses, Goldberg had a small bump on her head. And her boss said, now the worst thing you can imagine has happened. That's it. That's the worst thing that can happen. It already happened. You still want to work? JB Smoove. Previous to finding success as a comedian, JB Smoove held down several different jobs, including one as a door-to-door fire extinguisher salesman. He told Howard Stern in a 2017 interview he was good at getting people to purchase the product, but lost a gig after almost burning someone's house down. It's hard to be a door-to-door salesman. It was tough because you have to convince people to actually let you into their house, and then you gotta scare them a little bit into buying one. You gotta say stuff like, "You got grandpa back there in the wheelchair. What you gonna do if a fire breaks out?" Then to really convince them to buy one, I would do a demonstration with a little metal pan, a newspaper, and some lighter fluid, and a trial-sized fire extinguisher. I was supposed to light the fire on the pan and put it out with the extinguisher, but one time I was in somebody's house and didn't realize the extinguisher was so low, so I lit the fire and I couldn't put it out. I had to grab the metal pan with the flaming newspaper on it and run out the house and stomp it out on this woman's front lawn. And the lady was in the house yelling, cursing me out, saying, "You asshole, you tried to burn down my house." I just straightened my tie and walked to my car and drove off. Martin Lawrence. Before he reached superstar status, Martin Lawrence worked in a cubicle at a Sears department store as a telephone solicitor. And ironically enough, in the cubicle next to him was legendary hip-hop acts Salt-N-Pepa and Kid 'n Play. In 2017, VH1 sat down with Salt-N-Pepa to relieve their pre-fame work days and share their thoughts on the 2017 hip-hop honors, honoring Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence was trying to be a comedian. He sat in the cubicle next to me. I didn't think he was funny. However, the duo and Lawrence made a glow-up pact stating, whoever gets put on first will put the other one on. Salt-N-Pepa were true to their word and had the comedian open up for them at their early shows at the Manhattan club called Inferno, and the rest is history. Carlos Miller. The 85 South Show comedian worked as a firefighter full-time in his hometown of Oxford, Mississippi before moving to Atlanta, Georgia in 2005. That was the best job I ever had until we had a real fire. Carlos also tweeted, "I hated being a firefighter. Not the job, but the people. That fat ass chief, and nobody could say shit because he was so hypersensitive about it. His belt was so goddamn long, they had to make it special." Every day we work our regular 9 to 5 jobs, hoping to keep the lights on, our fridge stocked, and rent paid in full. And most of us can't afford to quit our day jobs, no matter how much we hate it. Yet there's people willing to leave the comfort of their steady paycheck and achieve a lifelong dream. Are you one of those? To stay up to date with the latest news and comedy, subscribe here to our YouTube and follow Comedy Hype across all of our social media platforms. For Comedy Hype News, I'm K-Rob.